Hey, 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 it's Rebecca, and you are listening to Resilient by Design. Today, my guest is Sarah Bilicki of Sarah Elizabeth Interiors here in Toronto, and she is a dynamo. Sarah has such a beautiful bubble of energy around her at all times. You can't help but smile when you're in her presence. She truly is making major moves in her design business. And what I love about Sarah is that she has been with me from the start of this coaching journey. So Sarah signed up for my very first online course, Momentum, and has since done Power of Process. She's also a member of our Designers Room monthly coaching. And she has completely transformed her business in the last year and a half. It's incredible to see. She is going to share with you in her own words what has changed in her business and how far she's come with some really specific examples that I hope for those listening, you might take away a new idea or a nugget of wisdom that you can use to implement in your own business. So enjoy this beautiful conversation with Sarah.
All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business.
Are you looking to expand your network, gain momentum in your business, and be around your tribe of designers or decorators or architects? If you answered yes, then go check out the Collective Workspace. They offer a range of private office suites, flex workspaces, boardroom rentals, and many more perks, along with a trade-only design resource library. Oh, and did I mention a boutique gym? Their flagship space is located in the heart of Toronto. I am here right now in the Design District with a second location opening up this fall in Mississauga. Go check them out at thecollectiveto.com or go on Instagram at The Collective Workspace, your tour, or take advantage of their free 3-day pass. Oh my goodness. Look who is on Resilient by Design. It's Sarah Bilicki and you're right here. I feel like I'm doing an intro. Sarah is one of my most enthusiastic and I would say prominent students / friends / just designers in our community. And I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. So welcome.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that introduction. That was so lovely. I'm very known to have a very bubbly personality. So if I start talking too fast, just slow me down.
Not at all. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and let them know a little bit about who you are and just tell us. Tell us all, Sarah.
All the things. So I'm Sarah from Sarah Elizabeth Design and Interiors. We are a residential full service studio located in the southwest end of the GTA. And, we like to really focus on creating spaces for homeowners that really provide for them.
Awesome. I love that. And tell us a little bit more about school for design. What's your origin story?
Sure. Yeah. So I went to school for design. I worked in a variety of different fields prior to venturing out on my own. I worked for large firms where we sort of really focused in on high-rise residential restoration, from commercial offices to retail design. So there was a lot of heavy presence of construction drawings and drafting. So I feel like I know I have a really good construction background. But it wasn't lighting me up. You can spend, I'm sure everybody can relate to this. You can spend so much time drafting, but to get out there and be on site and those kinds of things is really what sort of lights me up, and being able to pull concepts together is really, what excites me and what I want to do. definitely residential design is also something that I'm very passionate about. And so I decided to sort of venture out on my own. Well, I guess I fell into it a little bit. I had my first child, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Like I didn't know how design fit into this new sort of chapter of my life, and where it could take me. And I sort of, let my firm know that I wasn't planning on coming back, and I didn't really have a plan. And anyways, a family friend was looking to sort of renovate their kitchen, and asked me if I would do it. My daughter was 9 months, and I was just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm just gonna go for it. Had no experience doing anything out on my own, and just sort of like dived in and started to learn as I went along. And working for families or working with families in the residential side of things, there's just something so personal about creating spaces, that really can enhance homeowners and families' lives, their lifestyle, so that they're able to sort of really create these wonderful moments together, right, in their new spaces. So, and you got to start somewhere. So that's what I did.
Amazing. I love that. I think also becoming a parent, sometimes I know for me kind of changed my perspective, and it changes maybe your perspective of what you want to do with your life and all the type of design you want to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And and it's like, again, it's like a new chapter. There's a whole new focus, right? So I just felt as a professional also that I needed to have a shift in that regard as well. And so I kind of not fell into it, but I continued with design because that's what I know. And I sort of tweaked it towards a different path that sort of served me a little bit better. But I didn't have a plan, and I didn't have a vision. But I just knew that I loved doing this. And I wanted to do it not for myself, but for my family. And so I was going to sort of just walk this journey and see where it takes me, and that kind of stuff. But so, like, as an entrepreneur, we often talk about how it's a very sort of lonely role, especially if you're not working for a team. I'm a solo. I do have people who assist me, but not in the design side of things, sort of back of house stuff. And I think, like I said, like I didn't have a plan, I didn't have a vision, but I wanted to sort of create a sound structure and platform for my business. And that brought me sort of to seeking out, how can I learn about the business side of things? Because you really don't, like when you're in design school, you don't learn any business stuff. I mean, maybe it's changed. I don't know. It's been a while.
I would like to think it has changed, but based on the people that are coming to school and applying for jobs, I would guess that no, it hasn't changed. I guess there's only so much you can. Like, think about it. There's only so much you can teach. Like, you can't be an expert in all the things. So they teach you to become an expert in the craft, but then you graduate school and it's like, cool, I have this craft. I have a natural eye. Now what? How do I run a business for myself?
Right. And then I think, like often, like as a junior, when you get out of school, like I remember just being so hungry, for work. So I was just like, yeah, I'm going to work here. I'm going to work here. And then you try to find, what you're passionate about, but I didn't always seem to get those jobs. And so creating something for myself was really, really important, because then I could sort of guide my own path through life, I guess.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you because I want to know, because like you started this business, but how did you find me?
Yeah. So I was definitely, I just had this need to learn. And so I started, my husband's really into podcasts, and he's just like, you could learn anything, listen to a podcast. And I'm like, okay. So I started researching like interior design podcasts. Right. And I had been listening to a few different ones, and I think you were a guest on one of them, and you were starting yours. So I started listening to your podcast. So that's how I found you, was through podcasting. Is that the word? But, and then, yeah. So, and then there's such a wealth of information that you were sharing, that others were sharing, that was just so invaluable to me. And it was also sort of like breaking this stigma, that sort of surrounds interior design, where everybody sort of like kept their secrets and their resources so like close to themselves. And you were just so freely sharing, not only just, how you run your business, but your personal experiences and your journey as well. And I just found it so relatable. Like there were just so many scenarios and experiences that you were talking about so openly and so candidly. And I was just like, wow, like this is really empowering, like sharing this information and being a part of this community and stuff like that. I just found was just like so powerful for me. And then I think then you started with your courses, right? I think it was Momentum first and then the Power Process. So I've done both, but I did the Power Process first. And I remember you were doing like, I guess like a video introduction to the course, or like everybody could sign up, and it was like an introduction or a presentation that you were giving. And there were just so many like, yes, I want that. Like, yeah, like, yes, I want a process. Like, so many things. Like, yes, I want to feel more confident. Yes, I want those dream clients. Like, yes, I want to serve them better. Like, yes, I want projects to run smoothly. And like, I don't want to feel like a chicken with my head cut off, like running around all day. So there were just so many like, oh my God, this is for me. So, yeah, so
and so you did the very first course that I ever did.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the first time I ever did an online course was because all these designers were like, oh, we love your podcast. And like, we love the meetups. Like, you should be charging people for this information. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I could do a course. Like, I love to teach, and that was always something. And so I'm like, okay, I'll do a course. And as you know, Momentum was like the first time I ever taught a course. I was like, I'm going to teach everything I know in one course. So it was retarded. It was, excuse me, that's the wrong word. It was ridiculous because I'm trying to teach marketing and process and like all the things. And I remember we did the course. It was live, right? It was really awesome. It was such a crew. We're all like really still all in contact, which is so lovely. But they, I remember everybody afterwards being like, this process, like catch the surface with process in that course, right? It was like, I'm like, you need a process. Here's why it matters. Like, here's kind of what I do. And everybody just was like gravitated to the process portion of it. And afterwards, everyone's like, you got to do a course on process. Like, tell us more about this process. And I was like, oh, interesting. I thought designers wanted to know more about marketing, but really, and it makes sense because I never had a process before. Everybody was like, tell us about this process idea. Before we can start marketing, we kind of need to figure out how we run our business, right? And so that's how Power of Process came out of it. And obviously it was then very comprehensive course on building your own unique process.
Yeah, exactly. And like, there was just so many things that like, I never thought of. And like, maybe this is because like, I didn't take any business courses. And again, like, I think it's true for a lot of us in design who venture out on our own, we don't have a business background. So like, we just know how to do the work, right? Like we know what work needs to be done and sort of the steps, right? And then we just go gung ho and, do our best. But there was just so many, right? There were so many things that you were talking about that was like back of house development that I was just like, wait a minute. I think there's like one sort of idea that you talk about is that you really need to like work on your business and you schedule that time in, right? Like maybe it's one day a week or it's one morning where like you don't answer any emails, you don't deal with your team, you don't do anything, you just focus on whatever sort of needs that honing or development on the back of house or business side of things. And that was also like, oh my gosh, like I need a process. I need a process. And there's like systems and things that I can create that are going to streamline how I interact with people on the regular, how I onboard clients, what our first sort of email exchanges are, the documents that go out that let them know about about your process or how you work, and just about yourself, and having all of those sort of documents and information already done. So when you get those new inquiries, it's just like, oh, here's a new inquiry. Here's my first email response to them, right? And then, oh, you want to book a one-on-one call with me? Oh, here's a link to my scheduler, and here's the about us document, and maybe our process document, so that the clients or potential clients really get an understanding of what it's going to look like to work with you and what your process is. And it also just gave me so much confidence. Before, I would people would be like, you know what, I really want to do the ordering of my own tile and materials, and you just come in and tell me what looks good. And I was always like, oh, sure, that sounds easy peasy. I'll do that for you, no problem. No, those were the jobs were always right. Yeah, whatever you want, the people pleaser, whatever you need, whatever you want, I'm there for you. Text me at 11 p.m. I will answer. Those are the jobs that always go sideways and always leaves you drained and not paid enough for your time. Or in my case, like, oh, can I really charge 15 minutes for a text that went out at midnight? Like, there was just no structure. And my time is valuable, and everyone's time is valuable. So there needs to be a more structured way to do work, and those boundaries that you need to set with people as well, right?
So just on that note, because you were responding to text messages at time, because you were just doing whatever the clients wanted, and to be fair, we all go, maybe not everybody, but a lot of us go through that. I went through that too. I used to get essays via text message. I'd be going to bed and I would just check my phone right before bed, and at 11 o'clock I'd get an essay, and then I wouldn't sleep all night because the client was upset with the contractor and vented to me, and then I'm a sensitive person, a people pleaser, and I would just take it all to heart. And my husband wouldn't understand. He was like, why? Like, whatever. Like, it's not your problem. It's not your fault. Like, just respond tomorrow. Like, she's just crazy. And I was like, yeah, you might be right. But it would just sit with me. And now I don't even give anyone my cell phone number. Like, clients don't actually even know what my phone number is. My team gives them cell phone numbers if we're managing a project, but it's the office number or email, and that's it, because you need to establish boundaries. But anyhow, that said, it sounds like you don't do that anymore.
No, definitely not.
So what changed?
So definitely like having that structure, and also the process sort of gives you a backbone. Like, not that I didn't stand up for myself, but it gives you a backbone, and it gives you something to lean on. Like when you're talking with a client, you're feeling it out. Maybe you're at the consultation or even just the discovery call, and they say something like, "Oh, well, I have a friend who works in the tile industry, and they'll do all the tile ordering." Well, you can just say like, "Well, that's not our process, and that's not how we work, and here are the reasons why," right? And it gives you that confidence to say all of those things. And then I think I heard this saying once, and then you just sit on your hands and you don't say anything else, right? And then you just don't say anything else.
I think for women, it's really hard. We tend to just keep talking, right? We talk through it like, oh, it's going to be $5,000. So what that means is, and blah, 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 and so just shut up, say $5,000. And like Kimberly Seldon says, sit on your hands or find something else to do with yourself so you don't zip it. So you let that talk. We tend to fill that space.
Yeah, fill that space. Let those numbers sink in. Let your structured process sink in for them. And if if it doesn't jive for you, then they're not the right people for you. And it also taught me that like those projects are not the right projects for you. And to stop taking on those projects, because then they fill your schedule and don't leave it open for those dream clients that potentially could come along. And then you don't have the time for them because you filled your project because you filled your schedule with all of these, maybe, medium ideal projects, right? And then you get that dream client, but then you can't fit them in for 6 months to a year, and then they're going to not want to wait if that's the case. Like, you know what I mean? So by having a strict process and knowing, what projects light you up, you also dive into like developing your ideal client and like business vision and forecasting, which is something I never used to do. I think probably just because it scared me. Right. And I think maybe I'm still not super great at it, but also the amazing thing about this community that you sort of built is that it keeps you accountable, and, you sign up for this program and like, you want to do the work because you on that weekly Zoom call, I think it's weekly Zoom call, like you want to engage and you want to have your questions answered. So you want to do the work. And then you hear like, from yourself and from all of the other professionals who are also taking the course, everybody has maybe sort of similar questions or different interpretations. And it just opens your eyes to maybe different avenues that you didn't think of, right? Different scenarios that might work for you, might not work for you. And it's also about like going through those motions and trying one thing. Okay, whoop, that didn't work. Let's try it, this way, the way that, Jamie said, or, oh, I remember that, Jocelyn said it this way. Let's try it that way. Right. So there's all these different people from different walks of life that are all a part of the community that you're also learning from them as well as you move through the program and the course and stuff. It's just,
and Sarah, I just want to chime in and give you credit here because you have been, of the students who've gone through my programs, I think you, or maybe you're not the only one, but you're one of the top few students who has actually really taken advantage of all of the information that's out there and all of the Zoom calls and the courses. So we have this thing called Designer's Room. You guys have probably heard me talk about it, but it's a monthly coaching that's only open to the people that have done the courses. And there's 2 a month, and one is like a coaching Zoom where we bring in a guest speaker, and the other one is a hot seat Q&A. And Sarah's, you can't see her, but she's laughing because without fail, almost every week, anyone could submit a question, and then we'll give you like the hot seat in that Zoom call. So it could be 20 minutes, be 40 minutes. That's time dedicated to solving and helping you solve an issue that you're facing or a question that's going on in your business. And Sarah is always the first to volunteer, always the first. You're always, it's amazing. I'm like, oh, Sarah didn't send in a question this week.
Everybody's just like, is it Sarah?
But I mean, think about it. Like, you've signed up for this thing and you're showing up, and like, you can't show up every single Zoom call. I get it, but you are showing up, and that we'll have the opportunity to get one of your issues solved. You raise your hand. You're like, hey, I have a question about this and I have a question about that. And what I love about the group, because it's a small, tight-knit group, is that there's no one judges each other. And we are all at different stages of our business journey, right? And so like it was in Designer's Room where we were talking early on about case goods. I think Jamie was like, how would you define a case good? And I was like, that's a really great question. I don't have the answer. And then Laura was like, knock, knock, knock. It's anything hard. I was like, wow, that's really helpful. Like, I feel like an idiot. I didn't know that either. But here I am 12 years into the business. And I always just thought it was like something that came in a box, like a case. Remember? But it's
no, it's like millwork.
Or millwork. I mean, no one really knows. There's sometimes these industry terms, and we're too afraid to speak up, or we're too afraid to say, "Hey, I don't really know what that means," because for fear of judgment or looking like we don't know what we're doing. But what's so lovely about these groups that we have is that people are and openly sharing, and you, of all people, have really taken advantage of the fact that we are there to answer your questions, and so you always come forward with a question. And as a result, your journey and your growth is going to be exponential because you are investing in yourself.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like we went through this whole, I think it's 7 or 8 weeks doing like the power process. And then you have this wonderful opportunity to then join the Designers room, right? Designer's room. And then everybody sort of is not, they're on the same playing field, but they've all done the courses, right? So we all kind of have maybe like a baseline, and then you're building upon that baseline. And so as you move through developing your new process and stuff like that, like, yeah, there are things that come up, and like, I'm in the implementation phase. I'm like, this just happened with my contractor, or this just happened with a client, or right. And so you're in the moment, and those problematic maybe issues that you're not quite sure how to handle are very like in the forefront of your mind. And then you're able to sort of like, hey, like, I've got a designer hot seat, coming up next week. I'm going to ask this question. Like, this is what's happening right now in my business. I'm going to take full advantage of this amazing opportunity to not only ask you, Rebecca, what your interpretation of my problem is, but what everybody else's take is. Like, Laura always has great ideas as well, and same with Colleen. And there's just so many of us out there. And I do, like you said, like I feel, I don't know if everybody else feels like this, but I feel like we have such a nice group, such a community, such a tribe, which is also something that I feel was very lacking in my professional life, is not having any colleagues to sort of like lean on or ask these questions to. And this platform that you've created really allows not just myself, but all of us to sort of do that. There's so much so that like now restrictions are lifting. We've been able to like meet for coffee, go for dinner, have drinks, do some industry events together. Like, it was just so refreshing to see those faces in person.
You guys, 4 of you showed up. I was speaking on a panel for the Collective Workspace at their new TIDC location. It was a panel with a few other speakers, and I didn't anticipate seeing anyone I knew other than like the people from the Collective. And I was like waiting around, and then all of a sudden I saw like the 4 of you walking down the hall, 4 of our designers room members, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to cry. Oh my God, they all came in person. I get to see you in person. I felt supported and loved and so proud that you guys had made these friendships because of this community. I was like, oh my God, it will go down in history for me, that moment, that like incredible joy that I felt. And unfortunately, not everyone in our group is in Toronto. And so they do have a little bit of FOMO.
I know.
So I think what we need to do, though, I think I'm going to try, I don't know how to do it, like try to organize, like, I don't know, I went in different cities, or it's just like in Toronto, or do some kind of a retreat or something where people have the opportunity to come and meet in person, because it is so powerful.
It is. And then you make these like professional sort of like friendships, right? Like just friendships. And it makes sort of, doing the solo thing not so solo. You're not so alone, right? You can go to those industry parties, and you can meet up with, your colleagues and have these wonderful, conversations about business and design and life, right? Like everybody's at a different stage. Everybody has different ideas of how things should work. And all of that is just so great to share with one another. And so like, I would just say that is also one of my biggest sort of takeaways, is like this group, this community that, we've sort of created, or that you've allowed us to sort of create. And it's just been it's such a fundamental thing, like game changer for me, is just the social aspect about it, not just socially, but like the social professional aspect of it, just really, it's opened it all up. That's what I was just lacking. Maybe everyone's lacking it because of the pandemic. We've all been sort of locked in our offices or working remotely. And this just really was so refreshing to be able to sort of meet with everybody still virtually, and then meet in real life. It's just so great.
Yeah. Yeah. And also without all the pretense of like, it's an industry event, and I feel like I need to dress to the nines, and like, oh, I see. No, do I say hi? Do I not say hi? Oh my God, look, there's that person. Oh, there's this vendor. There's all these like pressures sometimes. At least I felt that sometimes with industry events. Yes. It's nice to just have something that's a little bit more casual and be able to act and actually talk about real things, as opposed to trying to like fake like, oh, I'm doing so well. How are you? Oh, you're so busy too. Oh, we're so busy. Like none of that fake shit. Pardon my French. I want to talk specifically about you, because I think it's lovely that you think the community is amazing and you're like our raving fan and it's a dream. But I want to talk more specifically about your journey and like what are some key tangible takeaways, something specific that you have implemented in your business that has changed from before when you were text messaging at midnight? Like what are a few things that you have actually implemented just to sort of inspire our audience and give them some ideas of what they could do?
Yeah. All right. So it was just me and an hourly rate and an Excel sheet is how we started. And for years, like before I did the power process, like I had been working on my own for, I don't know, I want to say 5 years, and still only working with an hourly rate and an Excel sheet and an accounting software. Like that was it. Taking the power process really made me focus and develop a vision. I created steps. So there is, the consultation, step 1. And then there's phase 2, design, which has like, I don't know, I've got it posted on my board here, which is like step 2 to 4. And then there's phase 3, project management. And then that's step 5 to step 7. And I've got all of these lovely descriptions, and I've got client-facing documents that I send out to my clients. I've got an in-house version and a binder that like walks me through what my process is and holds me accountable to myself so that I'm not just like, we're just going to skip step 3 and go straight into the presentation and not do the concept review. The concept review, game changer. Now I check in with my clients, I show them the concepts, and then I present. So when I present, there's not just like this, wait a minute, we talked about this at the consultation, and now you're showing us this at the presentation. And I felt like that was happening a lot to me. Like there was something missing in between the consultation where you collect all of the design inspo and then the final design presentation. Not only that, is that I just never really thought of my business as like a service-based business. Like I was like, yes, I have clients and I'm serving them, but like customer service, like, no, that's not me. Like I'm not doing that. But the whole idea of creating this client experience, well, like it just I never put 2 and 2 together. And now I've got all of these documents, pretty documents, I might add, that are branded with my colors and all the things that walks my client through exactly what to expect. Here's what you're going to expect at the consultation. Make sure you get a babysitter, because as much as I love babies, I'm not holding your baby. Maybe I might.
You say that in the document? I love babies, but I don't want to hold yours or something? That's hilarious.
No, I do not say that in the, but I say like, maybe eliminate distractions, get a babysitter. Like,
totally.
So now even when we go through the design phase, like there's a what to expect document for that. There's a what to expect document for phase 3, which says, this is how implementation is going to work. Right. And then there was just so many like fee structures. Again, like I said, I had an hourly rate and I had a timesheet and I would bill after the fact. And it was always not a fight, but maybe an internal fight with myself. Be like, oh, like maybe I'm not going to charge them for that hour. Oh, like was I really on site for that long? Like, I don't know. I'm going to take out some of these hours. Like, oh my gosh, that fee is just so huge. I can't bill them for that. Like, so having a new sort of like fee structure. So like I said, I don't do hourly anymore. I charge a flat fee upfront for my design. I charge for my consultation, which I didn't charge for. And since I think I took Power of Process last year, so it's almost been two years. Since then, I've gradually increased my consultation price. And I just wrote a note on my board today. I'm going to up it again this year, coming in January.
Good for you.
So there's just all of these things. And because I never knew what other people were doing, because everybody was so maybe secretive about what they did, I didn't know. Like maybe I just didn't know any better, right? Because I didn't have a mentor or somebody else to sort of like ask these questions with. And so now like I charge completely different. And I have to tell you, I'm working on a project right now, and it is the first project that I'm fully doing in my process. Like from start to finish, this is the process. This is how it's going. I got the flat fee up front, where I'm going to be presenting later this month, and then we'll be moving into implementation. And I've got all of the markups in on all of the materials. I've got everything quoted. We know the final construction price. And then I've got my implementation, and I've got it all in a nice Excel sheet. But I want to start using, I know, but I'm going in January. I'm doing Design Docs, which is also an accounting sort of designer accounting software that I've been dabbling in. And, I think you use it, and a lot of other designers use it. So we're going to make that shift. And so I feel like there's just so many takeaways. Like it's really transformed the way I do business.
No, first of all, I love so many things you said, that you keep upping your consultation rate. I think that's amazing. Also, that this is your first project from start to finish, fully following your process. I think it's important for people to hear that, because it doesn't happen overnight, right? And even for us, you're like, I'm going to develop a process. Shoot, you're already midway through other projects, and you're not going to necessarily implement a new process with an existing project, right? So it's kind of like, and sometimes I know when people try to, like, they work in our course and they create a process, and then they're like, well, I kind of started and I kind of got derailed. And like, that's okay. It takes time before you really can nail it from start to finish. And even then, it's never perfect, doesn't exist. But I have a question for you. How are your clients now? Have you noticed a shift in how your clients respond to you and your designs now that you have a process? Like, or let me rephrase that. Maybe at the beginning when you're onboarding or you're getting new leads and you're talking about how you work, have you noticed either that you're getting different clients or that they respond differently?
Yeah. So I've definitely noticed that I've gotten a lot of feedback actually about how they're initially like impressed. I've got these documents, like before I do the discovery call, like I send out these documents. It's a about us document and our process, right? It's like, it's a flow chart. It's like the flow chart that you've shared with us, but a little, maybe I bedazzled it a little. And I send it out, and, and I've had people jump on the phone and been like, wow, like, yeah, I wanted to book a discovery call with you because like you're laying it all out here for us. Like I know exactly, what to sort of expect, and I'm intrigued and I want to know more, right? I want to know more. And then just there's a discovery call script. I think you give it out to not just people who are in power and process and momentum, but that was like a game changer. And I would get on the phone and just get sort of entangled in a conversation about like what they want to do, and not really like dive into about whether they're the right fit for me. So, right. Like, so you're also, you're also making sure that they're the right client for you. Their style matches your style, and that the project in itself is going to light you up, or that you're excited about doing it. So, I've gotten great feedback from clients, and I'm also able to shut down people who maybe don't want to. If they give me any pushback, well, this is my proven process. This is my proven process, and I don't deviate it from it because it's not a profitable business model, which is also something you've taught.
Girl. Look at you! You're a freaking fire. You're just like I am all that in a bag of chips. Like you are, because I'm phenomenal. I freaking love it. Are you still texting people at midnight? Please tell me.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. All text message, like there's no communication for work via text message. If it does happen, I politely shut it down and just say like, hey, here's my email address. Let's talk about it on this platform, right? Or like, because then it sets the boundaries. Like I whether I work on the weekend or not is not for my clients to know, but that's my time. Like, that's my time. If I work in the evenings, like, again, they don't need to know that. That's not a time where I'm going to be having any type of correspondence with clients. Same with on the weekend. That's my time. That's my family's time. And that's the whole reason that, like, I got into business for myself, was so that I could have that time with my family. So it's just a very precious time, right? So I like to set those boundaries. And again, if I get that text message, I just politely refer them to my email. And that's where I'll answer all of their design concerns and questions.
Yeah. It's so good. So you sound like you're so whippet smart. You know what to say to the clients to like qualify them, but like, how do you actually, like, have you actually had to say no to anyone when you're qualifying them? And what did that look like?
So it's definitely hard. I don't think that I've actually done it right on the phone, although I've gotten off the phone and then been like, oh my God, this is not right for me. And then just kind of like hope that they didn't want to book a consultation.
Except Sarah, hope is not a strategy.
No, they did. They wanted to book a consultation. So, I had to just, politely, and it's so hard. Like, it's so hard. You don't want to let people down. You want to help everybody, right? Like, I'm such a people pleaser, and I know that you've mentioned that you are as well. So it's hard to let people down or have those conversations. So, and then also sometimes in the moment, like, I'm like, okay, but I'm not really processing, or maybe I'm not thinking quite enough. And I'll get better. I'll get better at doing that. Maybe being a little bit more quick on the spot with being like, whoop, red flags. But I just, politely had to say that, unfortunately, this project, isn't going to fit in my timeline, and it doesn't meet my minimum budget requirements for a project, which I forgot to say what my minimum budget requirement is in the discovery call. So they're still learning. I'm still learning, still growing, all those things.
Like, honestly, good for you, because there's been so many times where I have those red flags in the call, and then I still go to the consultation, sort of secretly hoping, like, well, maybe actually they're better than this, or maybe they actually have more money, or maybe, right? Because I'm so afraid of letting them down. And then it's even worse because you've gone further down the funnel, and they are, at their house and they're keen. And I even had it one time where, back when I used to tell the price to the clients right on the spot, the girl like whipped out her book, and I was like, and so I'd had a red flag in the call, a red flag in the consultation. And I'm like, well, she must be our ideal client because she's ready to pay right away. Oh my God. I mean, we finished the project. It looked beautiful, but it was painstaking. And I actually had to hire someone to manage and oversee the client because I couldn't do it because it was so emotionally difficult for me. So good for you for recognizing, because I know sometimes when you're not really starting out, but when when you're earlier on in your career, it can be tempting to want to take every job, right? Because of the cash. And it's scary to say no. You're so right. When you do allow space, then you have the opportunity to take on those bigger projects that are coming your way. But if you're so busy doing every little bitty shitty job, you'll never have the capacity to take and then properly service that client to then get that referral.
Yes, exactly. Right. And so that was such a huge notion, because I was always like, I don't know, like, as a business owner, like, you're all like, we talk about this all the time, like feast or famine. Right. And so, like, sometimes, like, like, you don't have anything, you don't have anything in the pipeline, you don't have anything coming down. And like, sometimes you get a little panicky, like, oh my gosh, like, I don't have anything. And then I've had times where, like, all of a sudden 4 projects paid their deposit all at the same time. And I'm like, I can handle 4 projects at the same time. I can handle 2 projects at the same time. And then how do you, right? And then, like, maybe I shouldn't just say, pay your deposit and we get going. Like, you know what I mean? So there's also different sort of steps that you need to sort of develop for your business so that you can secure the projects in the right sort of timeline so that you can service them. Because if I have 4 projects, then I'm not going to be able to give, Susie, Sally, Joe, and Mark all the time that they deserve. You know what I mean? So by not saying yes to those projects that really don't meet your sort of minimum and setting those minimum requirements, whether it's design style, budget, like type or scope of work, just really allows you to hone in on what you love doing. And that's going to make you a happier person. It's going to allow you to serve those people better. Like it's just an all around better experience for everyone.
Yeah. And like you say, like, okay, now there's like a new problem. Okay, I got 4 projects at the same time. Okay, how do I tweak internally my onboarding process with clients so that this doesn't happen again? So maybe I need to add something that says, we have a January 5th start date available, but I have 4 proposals out. And so the first person who signs up, so as soon as they sign up, you have to notify the other 3. Just wanted to follow up and let you know that the January 5th start date has been taken. We now have February 5th available. Right? Like, I don't know. I'm just coming up with ideas on the spot, but like that type of thing so that you can stagger your workload so that you can still deliver that service.
Yes. So that's exactly it. And that's also something that I do is typically when we're sort of, issuing out those proposals and the design estimates and those kinds of things, I let them know, like I only have, or I even let them know earlier, like almost in the consultation, like I've got 1 winter spot right now. Once that gets booked up, that's booked. Like, then we're booking into the spring, right? Then we're booking into the fall. I don't like to start any new construction work in the summer. Because most construction projects, they last through the summer anyways. The likelihood that things finish on time these days, doesn't happen. So you always got to give yourself a little bit of buffer. And then, and I think you also talk about like early and often, like saying these things early and often, like I only have these 2 spots. It's first come, first serve. And right. And letting your potential clients know this well in advance. I used to think like maybe I was scaring them off, but I just want to be totally open and transparent and honest. And I've gotten a lot of really great feedback from people, about that. So that's really positive.
Yeah, I know that at the beginning, I used to try to like picture to the client that it was all rainbows and butterflies because I was desperate for them to hire me and I didn't value my worth. And so I thought that if I actually told them I can't do it in their time frame, they won't hire me. And so I had this misconception that if I don't acquiesce to every single need, that they're not going to like me or want to hire me. But the reality is it has nothing to do with that. You have to stand firm because you're not going to be able to deliver. And then they're just going to be disappointed when you don't do it in their time frame or in their budget. Right. And it takes some time to learn. And I feel like you've definitely, you've like sped up your learning curve. Like it's like you're on fire. I think it's amazing. You're a true testament to like putting in the time to work on your business and do the work, because it's one thing to just like sign up for a course or listen to a podcast, and listen to podcasts, everyone. Don't stop listening to Resilient by Design. But there's something about like taking pen to paper, doing the work, like digging deep, really spending that time to think about who is the client I want to work with, looking at the numbers, like all the things that we do. That's what will help you that confidence and that clarity, right? To feel more in control. It sounds like you're much more in control of your time, and you're more protective of maybe your own needs and your energy.
Yes, exactly. And like, I think that's what we're all sort of like looking for, right? Like whether in business or in life is just, that balance, right? And how do we find it? And doing all of this, doing all of this work has really allowed me to pinpoint these problematic areas in my business and then hone in on them, right? And create these systems and automations that just free up so much more time. You talk about like the scheduling and time blocking your week and that kind of stuff. I'm still not super great at time blocking, but I try to do it. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, like this chunk of time is now for this project and this chunk of time is now for this. And now I actually have a whole day where all I do is admin and social media, right? Like, and And so it gives you those times, those dedicated time slots, so that you're able to be more efficient with your time and then deliver like a more efficient sort of experience for your clients, right? So, and just like, I think I keep hitting back on the client experience. It's just, that's what they're going to remember, right? And that's also something you talk about. Is that's what they remember. It's not the hiccups along the way, because those are always going to happen. But at the end of the day, it's how you make them feel. And like, that was just like mind blowing.
Right. It's so true. And I've said this, you've heard me say this so many times. I say this to my team. I'm like, it doesn't matter how good design is. What matters is, like you say, how you make them feel and what their experience is like working with us, because that's what people remember. People remember how you make them feel. And it's no different in what we do. And we get so focused on the beauty, right? And like, okay, so the navy walls, and it's gonna match, but meanwhile, the client is 2 steps behind you and is feeling frustrated. And in the end, oh, it looks phenomenal. But the client's like, man, that was not fun. And so they're not going to refer you. And then you're not feel good either, because you kind of missed the mark. So you're right, that the service is really a huge customer service. Like, we are in the business of customer service.
Yeah.
Like service. Yeah. And you're having a process and like having a set way that you do things every single time. It makes you do your job better so that you can better deliver.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter how big or how little the project is, or whether they vary in size or scope all the time for you. Having the one process works for every single job. Like, I know a lot of people say like, oh, I'm just going to do it this way, this one time, or these type of projects, I run it like this. Having the process and then following it for each and every project like is just a game changer, and it simplifies everything. I feel like it simplifies it for your client. It simplifies it for you. If you're hiring people on and you have that process, they're going to know what they need to do at whatever time they need to do it. Right. So I think it just allows you to grow and develop your business in such a strategic way that is just, it's just so great.
Totally. Okay. So Sarah, what's up next for you in 2020? Where are you planning your business in 2020? Oh my God. Where am I? Jeepers. 2020. It's 2020. Let's rephrase that. 2022.
In 2022, I see my business continuing to grow. I maybe want to hire somebody. I would like to add like an admin role to the business, so that back of house stuff that I don't love can go to somebody else who maybe loves all the numbers. Like I said, we're going to be moving on to design docs. We're going to be systemizing our systems a little bit more, and we are going to be going after those dream clients that you've helped us develop.
Yeah, amazing. I'm really excited to follow your journey and watch you very closely as your company grows and help support you in any way that I can. Before we wrap up today, is there any last kind of nugget of wisdom you'd like to share with the listeners?
I guess my nugget or my takeaway that I want to share with people is that, and you say this all the time, is that you just need to start. It doesn't matter where you are. You just need to start. Progress over perfection. And it doesn't matter if you've been in the biz for a long time or you're just starting out. Wherever you are, just start. And you'll see the growth, and dedicate that time to the business development side of things, and you'll see growth for sure.
Oh my God. Okay. I have to say, I love that you just said that. Only because obviously I say it a lot, because when oh my God, I'm laughing. I interviewed Jocelyn for the podcast, and when I asked her nugget was, she said the exact same thing as you.
Stop it.
Seriously,
Jocelyn and I are kindred spirits.
I love it. Clearly, whatever I'm saying is resonating, because you both said the same thing.
We're drinking the Kool-Aid.
I'm getting through. I'm getting through.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to start. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh my God, I love that. Oh my God, you're the best. You're such an inspiration. You're such a beautiful light of energy, and you make everyone around you smile, and only positive things are coming your way, girl. I'm so excited for you. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for
Please,
having me.
everybody, you're welcome. We'll have you back, of course. Can you let everybody know where they can find and follow you?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram at Sarah Elizabeth Design Interiors, and that's where I mostly like to hang out.
You do a really great job with your Instagram too.
Oh, thank you.
I didn't even really get to talk about marketing. Maybe we'll
Momentum.
hop back. Yeah. We'll do that one in a separate podcast because I think you're doing a great job, and obviously you're again also applying all the wonderful things you're learning, and you're growing, and it's really exciting to see. So we will all be following your journey.
Oh, well, thank you so much again for having me today. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you, Sarah. Oh my goodness. Isn't Sarah just so bubbly and lovely? Honestly, the entire time I'm like smiling. I wish you could see the video. She just has such a, I want to say like an aura about her. That sounds so woo woo. I don't really know the term, but she just has so much, her energy is contagious. And I love that. So only good things are coming her way. That's for sure. I hope you guys like that conversation. I mean, she talks a lot about how Power of Process has really affected and transformed her business. If you guys want to know more, it is going to be open for enrollment very soon. So you guys can go check out I think it's on my website. We'll put it in the show notes if you want to get on the wait list to find out when it's coming out again. It is a live combination of like live coaching and recorded, which it's something that is a lot of time that I put in, but I really love it because I get to show up and be live with the students weekly as we go through the course. And then we all become such great friends, and it's really wonderful. And if you after decide you want to join the Designers Room coaching, you're more than welcome to, but it's just a really great opportunity to kind of up level your business. Sarah is adorable. I hope you guys follow her on Instagram and watch her journey as her company grows and thrives. And as always, join us in the Designer Meetup Facebook group. If you want, Sarah's in that group as well. If you want to give her a shout out and thank her for sharing on the podcast or ask any of your own questions, we are there waiting for you. That's it. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.